Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're deconstructing something absolutely fascinating, the mechanics behind ancient mantras. For thousands of years, these chants have been passed down, and honestly, they're so often misunderstood. People tend to think they're just mystical rituals or ancient poetry. But today, we're stripping away that mysticism entirely. We're going to reveal the highly engineered, acoustic science that actually forms the foundation of all this ancient wisdom. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Are mantras just poems? It's a super common assumption, right? Most of us think of mantras as these verses, driven by deep emotion or some profound meaning, exactly like a beautiful piece of poetry. We just assume that reciting a mantra is entirely about feeling the devotion or deeply understanding the message behind the words. But our source material completely challenges this notion. It argues that if we're only looking at the meaning or the emotional resonance, well, we are entirely missing the underlying technology of the mantra. So, moving right into Section 1, the secret of mantra science. This is all about moving beyond mere words. The really crucial point here is that the foundation of mantra science isn't actually about the meaning of the words at all. It's about a highly engineered acoustic architecture. The creators of these mantras weren't just writing, nice-sounding verses. They were meticulously designing a very specific sequence of syllables. Think about poetry for a second. It's fundamentally driven by meaning and emotion. A poem's power comes from what it makes you feel or the vivid story it tells you. But mantras are a whole different ballgame. They are defined strictly by word sequence and sound flow. In a mantra, the words are selected and strung together not to tell a story, but to guarantee that a specific flow of sound waves is generated the moment you pronounce them. The sequence is the entire point. It's really a mechanical process, an exact acoustic formula. This builds on a really fascinating analogy directly from our source text, the iron wire analogy. Imagine cutting and fitting a piece of iron wire in a highly specific, premeditated sequence. When you construct a metal instrument or structure with strict mathematical precision, it dictates the exact uniform sound it produces. If it's cut perfectly, it produces the precise acoustic frequency intended, with zero random variations. The source explains that mantras are constructed the exact same way. The words and syllables are deliberately cut and fit together to prevent any random acoustic output. It's designed to guarantee one specific uniform sound wave every single time it's recited. That brings us to Section 2, the science of sound and pronunciation. Let's look at the actual mechanics of chanting. So we've established that the words are chosen for their sound, not their meaning. But just stringing those perfectly chosen words together, that's not enough to make it work. The physical mechanics of chanting are what unlock the power. And this is perfectly captured with this beautiful quote from the source. The arrangement of the sitar strings is not everything. How the player's fingers dance is also crucial. If you think about a sitar, the strings might be tuned and arranged perfectly, and that represents the word sequence of the mantra. But to create different ragas, to create actual music, the musician's fingers have to dance across those strings with incredible precision and rhythm. In the exact same way, your vocal cords, your tongue, and your breath are literally the fingers playing the instrument of the mantra. The precise vocal mechanics and the varied tones are what actually generate the intended effect. Let's break down this step-by-step process of how this acoustic technology is actually supposed to work. Step 1 is word coordination. That's the strict restraint and arrangement of specific sounds. Step 2 is rhythmic pronunciation, applying those exact varied tones and vocal mechanics we were just talking about. Now, when these two are perfectly synchronized, we hit Step 3, unique wave creation. This combination sends a highly specific, unique sound wave rippling out into space. And finally, Step 4, impacting the subtle world. These specific acoustic waves alter the conditions of the subtle environment around us, creating the exact circumstances and results that are traditionally associated with the mantra's power. Let's look at Section 3, the example of the Gayatri Mantra. This is our case study in acoustic design. Let's ground this whole theory by looking at one of the most famous examples in existence, the ancient Gayatri Mantra. Now, if we look purely at its literal meaning, it's essentially a prayer asking God for good intellect. But the source points out a great caveat. If the goal was just to ask for good intellect, there are tons of other normal poems or verses in the Vedas, or frankly in any language, that do the exact same job. If it was just about the meaning, any of those poems would be equally effective. But as we're learning, there is a deep mechanical difference here. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this single number right here, 23. To truly understand the acoustic engineering of the Gayatri Mantra, we have to look at a localized mystery within its structure. You see, the mantra is supposed to be written in the Gayatri meter, which is a strict structural rule in ancient poetry that requires exactly 24 syllables, typically 3 lines of 8 syllables each. To be grammatically pure, it absolutely needs 24. But the actual text of this ancient mantra only has 23 syllables. It actually contains a known grammatical flaw. No way, right? So, how did the ancient creators handle this grammatical flaw? Well, they took the syllable niyam and artificially stretched its pronunciation to niyam. By doing this, they deliberately created the 24th sound. They knew perfectly well that the text was missing a syllable grammatically, but they completely ignored the grammar rules. Why? Because they prioritized the precise acoustic flow. The stretched pronunciation of niyam was mathematically necessary to maintain the exact sound wave they were trying to generate. Essentially, they chose acoustic perfection over perfect structural grammar.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, the limitless power of sound and its everyday acoustic impact.
Let's zoom out from ancient text for just a second. You might be sitting there wondering, okay, but does sound really have this kind of tangible physical power in the real world? Well, the source text highlights that modern scientific development now increasingly recognizes sound as a highly potent physical force. This isn't just ancient mysticism anymore, guys. These acoustic principles are validated in our everyday lives, constantly shaping our reality. Just consider the impacts of everyday sound on our bodies. Sounds dictate our physiological and psychological states constantly. Certain rhythmic sounds can easily induce sleep and lethargy. A harsh tone can instantly trigger deep physiological anger. Words of praise immediately bring us a wave of joy, while insults or sounds of mourning can cause profound physical distress. In fact, our bodies literally alter their physical activities and nervous system responses simply based on the sound waves hitting our ears. Spoken words are literal acoustic energy that dictate our body's physical and emotional reactions. And to bring it all together, just consider this really powerful statement. Draupadi's bitter words sparked the Mahabharata. This is a dramatic historical example from the source text, showing how pure acoustic energy, just words spoken with a specific bitter tone, literally altered the course of history, starting an epic war. It's a profound reminder that words are not just abstract ideas. They are literal forces of nature that can melt hearts and move mountains. So as you go through your day, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If meticulously designed ancient sounds can literally alter the subtle world, what reality-altering power do the everyday sounds and words you create hold over your own life? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the science behind the wisdom.